Happy International Podcast Day to you beautiful podcasting friends out there. Today is a very, very special day. September 30th, every single year, does shine a light on International Podcast Day, created by my friends Dave and Steve, two people who have supported me right from day one. And that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to rewind the clock back to day one, all those years ago, and talk about my years as a podcaster. 5 years of podcasting in retrospect. Hopefully a very personal journey and a few key insights into what it's like to be a podcaster consistently across such a breadth of time. But just a little reminder that I am Mark Asquith, that British podcast guy, CEO and co-founder of Rebel-Based Media, and this is the Podcast Accelerator. Now, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk podcasting with you, and I want to thank my listeners personally for all of their support over the years, and all of the community, really, everyone that has just dug in, supported us throughout everything that we've done at Rebel-Based Media, subsequently with podcast websites, and more recently with that Rebel-Based Media repositioning and rebrand, and then the introduction, of course, of Productivity, the Podcast Success Academy, our podcast studio, the branded podcast work that we do for companies here in the UK, and, of course, the support that we've received from you with regards to Captivate.fm, the world's only growth-oriented podcast host, where you can grab a 7-day free trial and host unlimited podcasts for just one monthly cost. You can go and try that at Captivate.fm. Just, honestly, I'm humbled by everything that you guys do for us, and for me in particular. It amazes me that you turn out every day to support this. So happy International Podcast Day. Now, I am going to turn back the clock to 5 years ago, and I'm also going to be dropping into the feed a bonus episode, which is my first ever podcast, my first ever solo podcast, and I'll talk to you about why the distinction of it being solo is significant in just a second. I am going to drop that into the feed. You can see how robotic I was. You can see how very different I was as a personality back then on the mic. So go and check that out. It's insightful, and I'm dropping it because I want you to understand that, honestly, it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you keep going and you're enjoying the journey, all right? But before I do that, I just want to give you a quick shout out to the team at AWeber. We are pulling this offer. 90 days of AWeber's email marketing will be disappearing very, very soon. We're going to be switching it out for something a little different. This is the best deal on AWeber that you can find. So I want you to go and try AWeber to engage with your audience, which is something that I'm going to talk about on episode 70, all right? Please go and check AWeber out for 90 days, totally free, at markasquith.com/AWeber. Right. 5 years ago today, I launched my first ever personally branded podcast with immense support from the podcasting community. Today, I'm looking back with gratitude, and I'm republishing that first episode so that you can hear the change, because our first time is always awkward. But I want to take you back 5 years. September 30th, International Podcast Day 2014. I was working in my agency business, Hacksaw. We were doing well. We were growing the business. We were loving the business. And underneath that, there was just maybe a subtext of me getting a little restless, where I just for some reason couldn't fathom why, whilst I was enjoying the day-to-day of it, why it just wasn't fulfilling me overall. And we were working with immense clients. We'd done work at this point for Adobe, for Bosch. We'd done some work for some very, very big people. And we went on to do amazing work for so many brands and smaller businesses, independent businesses across the world. And we were doing well. We could have done that forever. But something was starting to stir inside me. Something was kind of just urging me to do something that, and I don't want this to sound a little too condescending to what Hacksaw was, but I wanted to do something that mattered, that I could make a difference with. You know, work in an industry where I could actually affect the industry and have a legacy within the industry. Everything else that we created at Hacksaw, we weren't creating legacy with. We were doing projects, and that bothered me. So I'm going to talk about this on the next episode as well. I began podcasting with a friend of mine, Gaz Aylett, who I'll tell you the story on the next episode, but basically twisted my arm into podcasting. I'd never done anything with podcasting. And I went away on holiday with my partner at the time, and I started to think, you know, I want to do something that's small business oriented. So I thought I'm just going to interview local people. I didn't realize at the time that John Lee Dumas existed, that Pat Flynn existed, that Ducker existed, all good friends of mine now. I didn't realize that these people were interviewing entrepreneurs. I had no idea Honestly, I had absolutely no idea that these guys existed. So I came back from holiday full of beans thinking to myself, I'm going to create a podcast interview series. Granted, I was going to do it locally and then move it up to kind of online stuff later where I'd interview guests remotely. So I came back and I created this brand, Excellence Expected, which not many people know comes from two particular things. Number one, my belief that as entrepreneurs, we always expect ourselves to excel. And that's why I was talking to my good friend Kai Wilkinson about this yesterday. This is why when you shine a light on this, especially this week, it's so pertinent for me. When you shine a light on the achievements that you've enjoyed and that you've created for yourself. If anyone's wondering what I'm talking about this week, go and check out my Instagram feed this week. There's going to be a couple of little surprises of where Kieran and I are this week. And we don't really celebrate these wins, these little wins, because it's what drives us to continually do better. What drives us is that ability to know that we can always achieve more. So we never stop and really accept and celebrate what we've done. So I created this Excellence Expected brand. And that also came from the second part of that that's unknown. That sort of came from a Steve Jobs quote where he said that not many people are used to working in a place where excellence is expected. And I coined my phrase, the phrase that I still say now, even though the Excellence Expected brand has gone. It's now just markasquith.com working under Rebel Base Media. But I still say, remember, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel, because I believe that is a mantra for me. If you believe it, you will achieve it. And so I created this brand and very quickly started to fall in love with it. But I also realized that there was a gap in the podcasting market. We could get involved in some of the tech, on the web tech, the podcast websites side of things. And thus, we created podcast websites and we built the business, and the story from there, you probably already know. That became my full-time gig. And now, we just build podcast stuff, and I do my bit for the podcasting industry, and I truly believe that we are affecting that industry in a very positive manner. And, thinking through podcasting, what that means to me now, it's insane to see that, like I said, the opportunities that we've had. I'm fortunate enough, because of podcasting, to be able to travel the world. I've met one of my heroes and had a long and deep conversation about something that I love with that hero. I met Kevin Smith and had a deep conversation about The Flash and Green Arrow and Batman, because Kevin Smith is just like me, passionate about DC Comics and Star Wars, and I was honoured to be able to share some time digging deep into that with Kevin Smith. I've met Aaron Mankey, who's a fantastic guy, a good friend. I've made some amazing friends all across the world, and I'm grateful for it all, from everyone from Evo, Tara, James Cridland, Jordan Harbinger, the people that I work with, right through to people like JLD, Pat Flynn, Chris Ducker, all people that, they just help each other in great ways, and I'm fortunate to know these people in a little bit more intimacy than some people might. I've spent time with some fantastic independent podcasters. I've helped to inspire so many people. But you guys, more importantly, this is what just humbles me so much. You guys have inspired me, and that's something that I'm going to talk about on episode 69. Just, the lessons that I've learned. Podcasting has helped me to develop. I've become a better person because of podcasting. Podcasting for me is a therapy. I can sit down and I can talk to you about what I'm struggling with and what I'm handling. And do you know what I've learned? I've learned what I don't like. I've learned the people that I don't want to work with. I've learned what I need from business. I've learned what I need from friendship. And that has all come because of podcasting. So for you guys, the guys in the early days, not everyone that knows me now, I appreciate you, but I shout out to you guys so very often. Annette, Raf, Felicia, Kipper, all those guys that support me, everything. Steve Lazarus, Cam Capriotto, Stephanie Lee, all these people that support me now. I want to thank you, but I also want to thank the guys that will get there in the beginning. I want to thank Dave, and I want to thank Steve from International Podcast Day. I want to thank Mike Russell and Isabella Russell from New Media Europe. I want to thank Gary Aylett more than anyone. And I want to thank all of the friends that had to put up with me being obsessed with podcasting, and frankly still have to put up with me being obsessed with podcasting. I want to thank the people that helped me to build Excellence Expected, the people that allowed me to explore that personal brand and that creativity. So the guys I used to work with at Hacksaw, Don, Kai, Mark, everyone, Daniel Ocock, just the guys that were just wonderful, just in allowing me to explore that. They were honestly fantastic guys. Like I said, Don, Marco, Dan, Killer Kai, couldn't do it without you guys, couldn't have done it without you guys. But also, in particular, the people that I'm very fortunate enough to work with now. So the people that we've worked with in the past on podcast websites, JLD, Kate Erickson from EO Fire, great friends, Chris Ducker, working together on some fantastic initiatives, but also the people that we continue to work with on a day-to-day basis, that have helped Rebel Base Media to become not just podcast websites and not just helping one set of people, but the people who are continually becoming closer and closer to me in my daily life. So Sam and Izzy, and more importantly than probably me in the business, is my great friend and brother Kieran McKeefery, who is the talent behind everything that Rebel Base Media does. He's the person that implements this, and I couldn't do anything without him. And I'm grateful for all of you, and that is what I am most humble about, is that the people in podcasting have helped me to do what I do so that I can help you to do what you do. So happy International Podcast Day. Thank you for listening. Share this with your friends. Share the thanks with your friends. Be grateful for your listeners. Be grateful for the people around you. And remember, stay humble, stay you, and keep talking. And never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.